Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome back to all the participants joining me on this session. So, participants, we have been looking at the development of the pipelines from various ways, like on our local machines, we have done using Vagrant, we have done using Terraform into Azure Cloud. Now, with this experience of building pipelines, we will go and explore today a very powerful service called Azure DevOps, which is a fully managed service offering from Azure Cloud, where you can go ahead and build your pipelines. Like if you look at pipelines, what we have been doing, we have built using Jenkins, we have built using Maven, we have built using Terraform, Packer. But Azure says, why don't you go ahead and use our Azure DevOps, where you get all these services available for you on an integrated model. So participants, welcome to Azure DevOps, which is a completely integrated service with all these tools that you need are available into Azure DevOps. So in Azure DevOps, what do you get? You get all these tools very much integrated, like the repositories, builds, provisioning, everything you'll get integrated. And just for your information, participants, for your information, if you want to go ahead and start using Azure DevOps, it's not available in your free tier account. You have to go ahead and buy the licenses separately. And this is very costly. One license costs you 2,400 bucks for one service. Likewise, we have 5 such services. So my suggestion is, if you want to do a practice, then you have to buy the licenses. If not, just everyone look into my screen and understand what I'm trying to do. And this session, I might take a little extended by because there are a lot of things that I have to be discussing. So keeping in that mind, participants, 2 things. One, the cost. Be very sure about the practice, or just look into my screen what I'm trying to do. If I have to go ahead and do that, I need a little more extension. So it might extend about 10-15 minutes more for you. Is that okay, participants? Are we good with the expectations?
Yes, Kumar.
Okay. Now, how to start? We will start creating something called organizations into this Azure DevOps. So now, participants, you will see that domain will change. You are in portal, you hit Azure DevOps. Now it will take you to another portal. See, the portal will change. So it is asking you to go ahead and create a new organization. It has changed from azure.com to dev.azure.com. It was portal.azure.com. Now it became axc.dev.azure.com. So for that purpose, you have to understand azure.com is the service provider where you are accessing it from portal, but now it will change to another domain. That means it's available in other service. It's available as a service itself, separate service. But access is only via from your portal only you can do. Even if you don't understand, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's not something that you have to understand. I'm just giving you for your. So right now, as Azure DevOps organizations, I have one organization which I have created under the name of Iris Cloud 1. This is the name of the cloud organization. How to create it? Top right hand side, you create it. You will be asked certain details. You'll enter about your organization, where you want to host some information or cap, and then you go ahead and create an organization. With that, an organization gets created. Right now, you can see under the domain dev.azure.com, there is an organization that I've created called Iris Cloud One. For this, I am the owner because it's my account. I've created my organization. I'm the owner. Are we good, everyone? Hello, participants. Are we good?
It's good.
Now, into this account, you basically start creating projects. I'll talk about the projects. So, next after that, where to get started? This will take you to the documentation and the billing management for Azure DevOps. Now, it's something that is good to have, but in a nutshell, participants, it'll ask you to go ahead and take the paid services, and they're very expensive. Free services are not available. You have to go ahead and raise a request. Okay, Azure DevOps Services billing overview. If you read through the documentation, Azure DevOps Services set up billing when you need more than free tier of your resources in organization. Set up the billing. That means you have to go ahead and associate your subscription to this billing, or you have to associate your subscription to Azure DevOps. So as part of the free tier, if you're a free tier, they will give you basic license for the first users, 5 users for free. Azure pipelines will include one hosted CI/CD, only 30 hours a month you can use, or one hosted boards, repos, artifacts. So once the billing will happen, all the charges on your monthly Azure bill will appear on Azure bill. Azure supports payment by credit cards. So what does the word setup billing here is something that you have to understand. Setup billing means your account, whatever the account you have, right? Whatever the organization you have, that organization that you've created, you have to tag your subscription to this billing. Go to the billing and it'll ask you to subscribe. This is a subscribe. Why it is asking you to associate the subscription? Because when you go ahead and avail the services from Microsoft under Azure DevOps, so it has to keep tracking the services that what you have consumed. So it needs a subscription. Like participants, when we were creating virtual machine, it will ask you to create the it will ask you to go ahead and create something called resource group, followed by Azure repos, Azure subscriptions. Same way, in your Azure DevOps, when you are using the services, you have to associate your Azure billing with it. Are we good, everyone? Participants, everyone, are we good? So at this moment, if you want to associate it, I'll show you association inside the portal itself. So let's get started by using Azure DevOps. It has taken you into the documentation. Let's go into the Azure DevOps. My Azure DevOps organization. I will go into one of the organization. Okay. Now you will see dev.azure.com/iriscloud1. This is the organization that I've created. Underneath, there are a couple of projects that I've created. So if you want to create a new organization, I've already shown you. But when it comes to organization settings, there are a lot of settings that you can make this organization. Organization you can treat as your company. So this company name, the URL in which this company can be accessed, the ownership of this, what are the projects? There are 2 projects that I've created. Who are the users in the project? Now I can create a user or users into this. Users means people. Let's say I have a user 1. So user 1 at abcsolutions.com. So that user will be given. So user from abcsolutions.com would be given access to access this account with certain levels. There are 4 levels that are given. So they will add, and then they will be given access to one of the project. And what is his role for this project? He's a project reader, contributor, or administrator. We will add it and send it across. So that person will receive to his email that, yes, dear user, you have been given a subscription. You are associated yourself with this Azure DevOps. You got an association with that organization. So you are given an access to that organization and start accessing it. So from there, that user will start accessing the Azure organization. If you click add user, you saw there are 4 permissions, 3 groups: reader, contributor, and administrator. So reader means he can only go ahead and see the resources. Contributor, he can add new resources. But when it comes to administrator, he can create new users into the account. Not only manage the resources, you can also create the resources in the account. If you want to see the policies, you click all users, you will find, where is that case? Add user. Yeah. Let me show you under the policies. Policies, or is it permissions? Yes, sorry, it's permissions. So group level permissions, user level permissions. So in a group level permission, just now I was mentioning about a reader, person who is a reader in the project. Or administrator. Members of this application group can perform all privilege operations on the team project collections. Now, who are project build administrators? Members of this group include who should be able to administer only the build resources. That means they can only handle the build resources. That is the difference between administrators with the billing administrators. So when I was looking, I was also looking something which is project readers, guys. I was looking at the project readers. The project readers means they can only read the resources. They cannot go and create or delete the resources. Though it is not added, but the definition of the project reader, as the name itself says, it's only that you can do a read with that, nothing more than that. Now, moving from this user segment, let's focus on the billing segment. Now, billing is a little complex, but I'll try my best to make you understand. It says billing. What does the word billing means? When you go ahead and avail Azure DevOps services from Microsoft Azure, Azure has to charge you. So Azure says, hey, how can I go ahead and charge you? You go ahead and configure your subscription to it. So based upon this subscription, it will keep subscription as the tracker. In this subscription, what are the users, what they are using, what are the services that the users are using, are they running builds, are they running services, it will track. So for this reason, we have to associate our billing with the subscription. I have already associated my subscription. If you're not sure about it, on the page they have given you how to go ahead and set up your billing. All that you have to do is go to your billing and set up the billing, raise a request, organization detail, billing, set up the billing. There will be an option called setup billing, and all you have to do is associate your billing with a given subscription and save it. So it will be billed, the setting will be done on your billing. So you will get to see your billing has been done. So for this billing participants, right now, Microsoft will go ahead and give you MS hosted CI/CD for private projects for about 1800 minutes for free, no parallel jobs, and one self-hosted, which is one for free and no parallel jobs. Now, this will be overwhelming for you at this moment. What is basically a parallel job? What is a hosted job? So right now, I will say anything that you do as part of this pipeline into these projects, treat it for now as a job. In Microsoft Azure, everything that you do inside a pipeline will be treated as a job. Jobs to get executed, there are two ways. Either you can execute on Microsoft Azure MS hosted CI/CD model, or you can host it on your server, physical servers. If you have, you can get it done. We won't be using self-hosted at this moment. We will be using only Microsoft hosted. For that, it is giving you 1800 free minutes. But participants, for your information, these free minutes are not available. It will ask you to go ahead and use paid parallel jobs. You have to go ahead and pay the parallel jobs. I'll tell you the reason why it will ask you to go ahead and pay, or why is that it will ask you to go ahead and use a paid parallel job. If you hit this parallel jobs, it will take you to another documentation, or it should have taken. I think it is taking you to this one. Let me just show you on the internet. So what I said, when you run a pipeline or when you define a pipeline, you can define it as collection of jobs. So in a nutshell, what I said, anything that you want to run inside a pipeline, it's a job. So when you want to run a job, when you want to run a pipeline, you can run multiple jobs into that pipeline. Each job consumes something called parallel jobs that run on an agent. This is the most important point that you have to understand. An agent gets involved. So agent is the one who will actually run your job. You define a pipeline. Into that pipeline, you go ahead and place that pipeline along with the job and you execute the job. But where is that job? So agent will take that job. He will go ahead and execute on a compute machine. So the point is, when there are enough parallel jobs for your organization, the jobs are queued up and they will run one after the other. See how smart Azure is? Azure says you are building a pipeline, and in pipelines, we generally go ahead and build jobs, or All that you have to do is to go ahead and create a pipeline where jobs are created and jobs do get executed. So as part of the execution, it's not just one single pipeline. You'll have multiple pipelines and multiple jobs. Because of that, you need parallel jobs. When you need parallel jobs, you have to go ahead and use parallel jobs here. As of now, we don't have any parallel jobs. That means we are bound to pay for this parallel job. If you go with one parallel job, you'll not get the bill here, but you will notice the bill will come later. And later it will cost you 3,000, 4,000 rupees per month for this billing, in this billing. Everyone are able to relate now? It's like this, guys. You are creating a pipeline where the code will be taken from the Azure code repositories. Then you will go ahead and do a build process. So pulling a code from code and giving it to the build service is a job. Am I right? This is a job. Job will be taken from the code and it will be built against the build server in Azure DevOps. So the question is now, if this is a job, this job needs to be executed somewhere. So what Azure will do, it will go ahead and treat this job and start executing on their own servers. That is what is saying. We will host your CI/CD pipeline, like Microsoft is hosting the CI/CD pipeline, and it will go ahead and execute the jobs. The jobs execution for 1800 minutes are free, but it doesn't guarantee you that it will run your job per month. This is per month. So now what happens if you have multiple jobs, maybe pulling off a job? What are the other jobs, guys? Build the job, and maybe after that we have to go and do a deployment. When you do a deployment, that's another job. That job needs to be executed. If there is a parallel job, maybe another job is to go ahead and compile the code. That's another job. So when the jobs are getting executed, they need to be running somewhere, and agent does all this for you. It's like I go ahead and tell in my pipeline, I want to go ahead and build my project. So build a project is a job. I turn that job and give it to Microsoft Azure pipeline. Microsoft Azure starts building that job. An agent will pick the job and it will run that job. If that job is running, I have to pay to Azure. Azure says, hey, I would like to go ahead and run for you, but you have to give me parallel jobs because I can, otherwise you have to wait. One job is completed, then it will come for another job. So in this process, Microsoft Azure is asking you to go ahead and buy parallel jobs. When there aren't enough parallel jobs available for organization, jobs get queued up and run after the other. So in that way, Microsoft is forcing you, or Microsoft is slowly making you guys to adapt to parallel jobs. So in Azure pipelines, you can run parallel jobs on Microsoft hosted infrastructure or your own self-hosted. That means in your own machine, you can do that. We are not going to do that. We will only use Microsoft hosted. Each parallel jobs allow you to run a single job in your organization. You need to pay for parallel job if you're using on-premises. That you see that participants, if you're using on-premises, we are not using any on-premises, but ultimately it is something. Oh, sorry, you don't need to pay for parallel jobs. Why? Because we are running those parallel jobs in my premises. But when you are running on Azure cloud, you have to pay for it. Another question comes is how much it is. So how much does parallel jobs cost me? We provide a free tier of service by default in every organization for both hosted and self-hosted parallel jobs. Okay. Parallel jobs. Is that okay? All okay? Okay. Now, when it comes to parallel job, guys, you have to go ahead and purchase it. That's what I'm speaking about. Parallel jobs are purchased at organizations. Now, Kumar, you had asked me, what is this? Is really, really confusing. See, this is not Azure DevOps is not for me and you guys. Azure DevOps is kept in mind companies, keeping in mind the companies. Why? Because in a company, you get to see an organization. In organization, you get to see projects. I call it as ORG. There's a project P1. There is a project P2. Projects. So into this projects, definitely people will be there. So users one, US one, first user, second user, third user. The same way participants, this project 2 will have another set of user 4, user 5, user 6. So if every user is working on Azure DevOps, everything that they do is created in the form of a job. Let's say user 2 is working on a project build. His project build will be treated as a job, and this job needs to be executed. For that execution, they need parallel jobs, or for execution, basically, they need an agent to execute this job. Otherwise, what will happen? If user 1 has created job 1, is J1, J2, likewise, another user creates J3, J4 jobs. So unless there is job 1 execution completion is done, then only it will come to job 2, then job 3. Imagine if there are thousands of jobs, how these jobs are executed. It's not possible for a single pipeline. So they have to go ahead and buy parallel jobs parallelly. That means parallelly we will execute multiple jobs. So execution of these parallel jobs, we will only use Microsoft hosted. So if you come to Microsoft hosted, it says for Microsoft hosted, you can get up to 10 free hosted parallel jobs that can run up to 360 minutes. That means for 6 hours for public projects you can run. Now, till here, the story is good. When you create a new Azure DevOps organization, when you create a new Azure DevOps organization, you are not given this free grant by default. No, they don't give you. Once again, you are not given this free grant. They said you can use it for your projects, you can go ahead and use it. But they are not interested to give you. Why? Because the problem is people abuse this for their own projects. Like, you know what they do? Instead of using for practice, some organizations use this projects. So they don't give you for free. But when it is for a private project, not a public project, for a private project, you can get up to one free job. That is only one job that you will get that can run 60 minutes each time. For now, there's a job that is given to you. That job will run for 60 minutes. So in that 60 minutes, I have to accommodate all my jobs, all my bills. So to request this, even for this free job, when you create a new organization, you may not also be given this free grant by default. See, neither they're giving for free for Azure organizations by default, for public projects, even for private projects also, they are not giving you this free grant. You may not always be given, may not always be given. That means they might give you, they might not give. Now, to get this free grant, what you have to do, you have to go ahead and raise a request. That request clearly is telling it will take 2 to 3 business working days. You have to submit this form. Now, that's what I've been telling you from the start of the session, that this billing is very, very confusing. And this is something which is not your scope, but still as part of Azure DevOps engineering, when you have to go ahead and handle Azure DevOps engineering for your organization, these all terms will come. So in a nutshell, how simple it is to remember is that, participants, when you are in Azure DevOps, you will have organizations created. Inside that organization, you will get projects created. This is a organization. Into that organization, you have to go ahead and set the organization. So let's go ahead and keep ourselves on the billing aspect. Billing have to be associated with a subscription. So this subscription will keep on tracking your billing. So how Azure builds it? Azure builds everything in the form of public and private projects. Instead of saying public and private projects, let's say the projects that you have. These projects will let everything that you do in the form of jobs. Anything that you do, it is a job in these projects. So in order to execute the jobs, you need agents, and agents will run the jobs. So in order to execute the job, as of now, the default jobs that are available are very, very slow. They will take long time. If you have if you have good number of jobs in the pipeline, that's what he said. You'll get to see more jobs as the pipeline gets, more and more jobs will happen. So when there aren't enough parallel jobs available for your organization, the jobs get queued up and run one after the other. That's going to be a very challenging job. So in order to address this, organizations have to adapt to buying the parallel jobs. That is like, if you are an individual, you have to go ahead and also buy the parallel jobs. Or if you want to avail the free services from Microsoft Azure, you have to raise a request. This request might be accepted by Microsoft Azure, might not be accepted. It's not in my hands, guys. It's still going to take time, maybe 2, 3 working days, 10 days, 15 days, even a month. It will take. So that's what I was trying to say from the start of the session, that Microsoft Azure, if you want to go ahead and avail their services, you have to pay for it. And that payment is very, very costly. And that was the reason I said, I'm going to go ahead and show you the demonstration. Look into my screen and understand. Second, if you want to go ahead and still want to practice, then you have to go ahead and raise a request, get this form submitted, and you have to buy. Or else buy Microsoft hosted parallel jobs. If you buy it, it is very, very expensive. My personal experience, guys, it's very, very expensive. Okay, so if this logic sounds clear to all of you participants, are we good, everyone? If this information is clear enough, participants, into the Azure billing, is this clear? Because they will not bill you from your subscription. They will bill you subscription along with the parallel jobs that you make purchase for. So you have to buy those parallel jobs. Now, into this account, then we can go ahead and start creating our project. Now, technical. Now we have to start entering into the technical aspect, where we can go ahead and create projects. Project creation is done. Now it was asking, right? How are you going to go ahead and create a project? So if it is a public project means everybody can see this project. I don't want this project to be seen because organization doesn't want the project to be seen. So let's remain on private. Give a name of the project and done. The project gets created. Once the project gets created, it is going to look something like this, participants. On your left hand side, it will give you all the tools and services. On the right hand side, you'll get to see the project. Clearly, it's a private project that I have. There has been a page or a button that is showing to invite users. So from here also, you can send invitation to the users so that they can become part of this project. About this project, a board on this project, a dashboard that gives no work items are created, no work items are completed, no PR requests, no commits, only one member, it's me. So this is the project overview page, the summary page. Now, the concept of boards I'll explain because, or it is not important for a technical person, but it is important for the management to get a complete overview of what is happening inside the project. So managers use these boards to keep what is happening inside the project. They track the project, they track the work items. But for you, it might not be important, but it is good to have because when you work in projects, guys, you are required to go ahead and submit these details because unless you submit, these project work items won't be functioning. So let me give you an easy way to understand. Participant, it all starts by assigning the work items. What is meant by work item? Let's say you are working in a project where the project is a story, is a big story. Let's say the client will have a meeting and the client will go ahead and say, we call it as Scrum meeting. Scrum meeting will take about 20 minutes in a day, where the Scrum Master means he is the one who manages the project from the client side. The Scrum Master will go ahead and tell that, we are planning to go ahead and get a new project created, and the new project is a e-commerce portal design. We are designing an e-commerce portal for our public customers like Flipkart.com or Amazon.com, some kind of. So now this entire idea, creation of an e-commerce portal, e-commerce portal have to be designed. Participants, now e-commerce portal means when you want to get it created. In next 6 months, we want this project to be completed. So we are breaking down. After that, within 6 months, every month, we will go ahead and keep a track of what is to be delivered for every month. We want to keep delivering milestones. Milestone means every month we want a new feature to be. So what the Scrum Master and the project manager from your side, they will do, they'll start breaking down into various stages, or first month, what we have to target, month 1. Next release, month 2. Next release, month 3. Likewise, for 6 months, they'll make a plan. That's what we call it as epic. We break down into smaller requirements. This is not epic, but milestone, you can say. From that month, let's say for the first month, what they want to do is they want to go ahead and release the features that as part of version 1 for the month 1, release 1, we want this feature in the e-commerce portal where users can go ahead and do a registration. User registration should happen. That's an epic. Everyone, are you able to relate now? My Scrum Master said, we want to go ahead and make an e-commerce portal. That e-commerce portal is, I would call it as a large story. Now, this large story have to be broken down. That's a project requirement, have to be broken down into smaller requirements. On a monthly basis, I go ahead and break it down. I call it as epic. And this epic, I will go ahead and break down into even smaller units on a day-to-day basis called stories. Have you completed your story for today? Everyone are able to relate? And every story is something that will be tracked. Participants, if you click on this work item, you can see epic, issue a task. Let me help you out, people. So epic, story, and work items. Then you will get a clear picture about it. Right. So participants, what I said, you have a epic. Epic means something that you want to go ahead and release as part of this week, an epic. That is associated with a particular feature. That feature is turned into a story. And to that story, what is your day-to-day task? What are you running into? Are you able to relate now, participants? Hello? Epic is so big that you cannot break down. So it is just understood. So 6 months plan is that we want to go ahead and work with the client, and the client wants to go ahead and have an e-commerce portal. That's a very huge requirement. So the project team, the project members, or the project manager, along with the Scrum Master, they will work, and on a day-to-day basis, they will go ahead and decide what needs to be done in the next 6 months. So monthly plans, they will break down the milestones for month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Every month, they might have 4 releases on a weekend. Release 1, release 2, release 3. So on a release of first week release, they want to achieve a milestone. And for this, they want to have an epic created. The first epic is have a simple interface for user registration. The user should be able to go and do a registration. That's a user registration. That's an epic. So for that epic, technical team will be called, DevOps engineer will sit, Java developer, .NET developer, whoever are the developers, they will sit, UI developer will sit. They'll ask, we are planning to release a user registration. How much effort Java developer is required? Angular.js, they'll ask, how much effort is required? So based upon this, they will go and tell, for releasing this user registration as a feature, we need 1 week for developing, 1 week for testing. So they will take it for 2 weeks in total. So they will go ahead and tell to the client, we need 2 weeks for us to release this feature. So he says, what are you going to go ahead and develop on a weekly basis? So the first day of the week, I will go ahead and do this, where user can click an entry with the username, password. If he enters wrong, what will happen? So against that, what are my tasks? I have to go ahead and give on a day-to-day basis. Everyone, are you able to relate? Participants, are you able to relate now? Why it is important in a company? Participants, it is important in a company because company has not 1%, 2%. Company have thousands of employees. So how they will go ahead and track what you are doing on a day-to-day basis? So for a 6 months project, on a monthly release, for a week epic, for a story a day, a task an hour, they will keep tracking you. Are you able to relate, one participants? Everyone, are you able to relate?
Yes, Kumar.
Why? Because yeah, till now we have been doing things technically. Technically, we have done build, test, release. But where all these are to be documented, who will go ahead and see what you are doing? You cannot say that, sir, I'm working on the project. So your project manager needs to know what are you working. What he will do, he will create an epic for you as a DevOps engineer, and he'll say, what is that epic? Build Jenkins pipeline or build pipeline for releasing new feature user registration. So user registration have to be released by this week. Who is to be associated? It is to-do list. To whom should associate with? It should be associated with, and it will be given as a epic. Now, once this epic is created, where it did go, guys? I'm looking at the task. I want to look at epic. See, epic has been associated. So for this epic, if I have been associated participants in my screen, I will see this epic. So for this epic, I need to go ahead and give what is the amount of time that will take, because since it is associated to me, so I have to take this action, and I have to go ahead and tell that how much time will it take for me. So since I don't have another screen, what I will do, I'll show you how to create a task. That means task. So what is a task? Task is something that I'm going to do. So what is my task? The task is uh, creation of Jenkins pipeline. I will create using Azure Cloud. I'll take roughly about it's something that I'm working on the deployment part, and the remaining work that I have to do is about 8 hours. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. So there is a task that is created. So against that task, what is my deployment? What is my development? If I'm writing any code, the code is something that I can link. I have to link basically. So my manager will go back to the board and see the boards that what is happening on a day-to-day basis. How many tasks are completed? See, tasks are completed. I want to go ahead and see as part of the epics. Yeah, epic. Kumar has done this. No, Kumar hasn't done this. What are his issues? What is he facing? Any issue right now? An issue is being prioritized. It will see. I want to go ahead and see what are the day-to-day tasks that are happening. So I want to see task list. Now we have seen tasks. Now we have seen epic. Now let's see tasks. It means is job taking place? Okay, it's still in to do. Let's say I have completed my task. I have completed the job. I'll complete and I'll go ahead and say my job is done, and it is done. Save. On a Scrum call, I will go ahead and confirm the client. Client will go ahead and accept. Yes, it's done. So now we'll go ahead and look for. Let me show you participants. Overview. Inside an overview of the project or the summary. Dashboard should be good. So I can go ahead and put a dashboard saying, I want to see what are the jobs that are completed till date. Or whatever that has been assigned to me. Done. So there are two epics that I'm being part of, and there is one task that I'm associated. Two epics. Are able to relate now, participants? So boards does this job of creating work items, epic stories. So how to remember all this? Just remember this model is by Agile model, where you get to see a dashboard where project managers will assign you the jobs. Jobs, instead of saying jobs, they'll assign you tasks that are done on day-to-day basis. If you make all these tasks, you will go ahead and make something called a story for that release. Multiple stories make an epic. Epic makes out a huge requirement. In that way, you can anything which is pending, you can see under the backlogs. Backlog means something which is left behind, which is not been done as expected. Everyone, are we good? Participants, are we good? Okay.
Yes, Kumar.
Sprints. What do you mean by the word sprint? Sprint means what is your plan for all these stories for the frequency of a release which is targeted maybe in a week's time or 2 weeks time for production release. If for a production release that takes place, what is your sprint? If you want to understand sprint, I'll give you an image or images that can make it easier for you to remember. Sprint. Sprint in Scrum. Yeah, it's an exact way that you can look at sprint. So sprint is a model that will help you to fuel your DevOps engineering. So you will plan, you will test, you will code, you will release. It's a continuous process. Participants, are you able to relate now the idea of a sprint? What is that sprint? But every 2 weeks, you will release the product. Story is created. You will create product backlogs. You will make those changes and you will go ahead and release the product. Sprint. Planning, implementation, review, retrospective, keeps on moving further, keeps on moving further. So these are essentially the DevOps engineering terms When you work in real-time projects, you will get to see Scrum Master. You'll get to see project owner, product owner, sprint analysis. You'll get to see board. You'll get to see backlogs. You'll get to see work items, because this is all tracked. They track you. Now these things will become officially the work items for you to build your project, test your project, release your project. Participants, are we good? Participants, are we good? Because what is the work that you do needs to be documented. What is the work that you need? Whatever the work that you do needs to be tracked. There should be someone to track your job. So project manager cannot track you always, right? Project manager asks you to document what you're trying to do. I am working on a mobile app development, or I'm working on a pipeline build, building of a pipeline using my Azure DevOps. They'll ask you to go ahead and put that in the form of a document, put your effort in the form of time. How much time is associated for you to release that? If not, that will be moved into backlogs. So project manager, Scrum Master from the client, they'll have a clear picture that till now, whatever the items that were created for this sprint are being covered. If anything pending, they'll move into the backlogs. If you are doing it, what is your status till date? Are there any pending tasks that you have to complete? Is there any blocker?
Yeah,
So they'll ask you to go ahead and document all this, because DevOps engineering projects are not just associated with one person, right? You are playing a vital role in deploying the project. At the same time, project means a lot of people in it. There will be people, database engineers, DevOps engineers, Java developers, front-end developers, back-end developers, testing engineers, support engineers. So this is a combination of the entire team. So what they are trying to do, a project manager have to keep on checking. So how he will check? On these boards, he will check in Azure DevOps. And he will assign the work. So if you are working on the project, you will be assigned this repo. You will go ahead and commit. If you are a developer, you will make this. When you are building a project, you will go ahead and use pipelines. You will build the project. So participants, now you are able to get a real view of what is Azure DevOps and Azure DevOps engineering using Azure DevOps service. Participants,